Sarah and her friends had planned a weekend getaway to a secluded beach along the coast of Maine. The beach was known for its crystal-clear waters and serene beauty, but it was also isolated, far from any city or crowded tourist spots. They arrived late in the afternoon, just as the sun was beginning to set. After setting up their beach towels and chairs, they decided to take a swim in the warm, inviting water. As they swam, they noticed something strange, a figure standing at the water's edge, seemingly watching them. Sarah and her friends couldn't make out the person's features, as the light was fading, but they saw the figure standing still, not moving at all. One of Sarah's friends, Emily, suggested they swim closer to get a better look, but Sarah had a strange feeling and insisted they stay where they were. Minutes later, the figure vanished. Sarah tried to shake off the unease that was slowly creeping over her, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Later that night, while they were around a campfire, Sarah overheard a local fisherman talking about a drowning incident that occurred years ago at the very same beach. According to him, a young woman had drowned while swimming at night, and her body was never recovered. It was said that she had been looking for her lost lover, and now, she wandered the shores, searching for someone to take her hand. The next day, Sarah went for another swim in the early morning, hoping to shake off the eerie feeling. As she waded into the water, she felt something brush against her leg. Panic surged through her as she looked down into the water, but there was nothing there. She continued swimming, but soon after, she felt an undeniable tug on her ankle. She yanked her leg free, but the pull was too strong. She tried to scream, but the sound was muffled by the crashing waves. Only by sheer force of will was she able to break free and swim to the shore. Afterward, Sarah rushed back to her friends and told them what had happened. They immediately packed up and left, but when they looked back, they saw the same figure standing at the water's edge, watching them leave. To this day, Sarah never sets foot on that beach again. Tom and his girlfriend, Laura, decided to go on a romantic beach vacation in Florida. They had heard about a small, private beach that was rarely visited by tourists, offering peace and tranquility. They arrived at the beach and found it was as picturesque as promised: white sands, calm waters, and the gentle sound of the waves. However, as the day progressed, Tom started noticing something strange. He saw people walking along the beach, strangers who seemed to appear out of nowhere. They didn't speak to anyone, just walked along the shore, gazing at the sea with vacant expressions. At first, Tom thought it was just his imagination, but as the sun began to set, he realized that more and more people were appearing, each with the same blank stare. Laura, oblivious to Tom's growing concern, suggested they go for a swim as the temperature remained warm even after the sun had dipped below the horizon. They both waded into the water, but Tom couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. As they swam farther out, Tom noticed that some of the figures had moved closer to the water's edge, and their eyes seemed to follow them. Suddenly, the water grew cold, and Tom felt something tug at his leg. He looked down but saw nothing. Panicked, he called out to Laura, but she didn't respond. Her eyes were fixed on something far out in the water. When Tom tried to pull her back to the shore, he felt a strange pressure on his chest, as if something unseen was pushing him down. With every attempt to swim to the surface, he felt as though the water was pulling him further into the depths. After struggling desperately, Tom managed to pull Laura back to the shore, but as they reached the beach, they saw the figures had surrounded them. The people, now appearing to be more like shadows, stood motionless, their blank eyes fixed on them. It was only then that Tom realized the truth: these weren't ordinary people, they were the spirits of past visitors, trapped on the beach for eternity. They ran to their car, speeding away in terror. When they looked back, the figures were still standing at the water's edge, their faces now contorted into grotesque, silent screams. Tom and Laura never returned to that beach. One summer, Jason and his brother, Alex, decided to explore a remote beach in California that they had heard about from a local surfer. It was a hidden cove, far from the bustling tourist spots. They arrived early in the morning and noticed something odd: the beach was completely silent. No birds, no wind, not even the usual crash of waves. It was as though the beach was frozen in time. They set up camp and decided to go for a walk along the shore. The sand was untouched, and the water was calm, but something about the place felt unsettling. As they walked farther along the coast, they discovered an old, decaying wooden pier jutting out into the ocean. It looked as though it had been abandoned for years. Alex, ever the thrill-seeker, suggested they explore it. Jason hesitated but followed along. As they reached the end of the pier, Jason felt a cold shiver run down his spine. The air was unnaturally still, and the silence was deafening. Suddenly, a faint sound echoed from beneath the pier, like whispers. Jason tried to brush it off as the wind, but the sound grew louder, more distinct, until it was clear voices. They were muffled, unintelligible, as though someone or something was calling out from the depths below. Jason called for Alex, but when he turned around, his brother was gone. Panic surged through him as he searched the pier frantically, shouting Alex's name. As he peered over the edge, he saw something horrifying, a figure, half submerged in the water, with pale, lifeless eyes staring up at him. The figure reached out with skeletal hands, as if to pull him in. Jason stumbled backward, his heart racing. He ran along the beach, calling for Alex, but there was no response. Hours later, he finally found his brother, standing motionless at the water's edge. Alex's eyes were wide open, but he didn't seem to recognize Jason. His voice was distant as he whispered, "It's not real, none of it's real." The two brothers left the beach in a hurry, never speaking of what happened that day. But Jason could never forget the cold touch of the figure beneath the pier, and the chilling whisper that seemed to follow him long after they left.